Okay, so I'm going to show you how to sew a zip into a pillowcase. It's called the hidden zip. So to start with, what I've done is I've sewn my seam in here, and my seam was been sewn on 1.5 centimeters. You'll see that I've sewn a normal seam here, so I've done a back stitch and then I've stitched to this mark, which is the marking on the pattern, and I've done another back stitch, and then I've changed my stitch width. My stitch length to the longest it can go. So I have big stitches from here down to the next marking. Then, without taking anything out, I'm just going to change my stitch length back to normal, which is the 2.5, and I'm going to do a back stitch and then stitch all the way to the end and do another back stitch. So the back stitch, the two back stitches here by the markings are quite important, because when you open and close your zip, that's what's going to get hit. These big stitches, the tacking stitches, will be unpicked later, which is why we're doing big stitches. So now I've taken my pillowcase and I have ironed the seam open. Not pillowcase, cushion cover. And now I'm going to take the zip and I'm going to place the zip with the teeth facing away from me. Okay, I'm actually going to do it like this to start with. And placing it in between the marks. So there's my blue mark, and that's where my metal must be. So the metal is in between the two blue marks on each side. Okay, so I have placed my zip with the teeth facing down in between the markings. Thank you, Milo. And now I want to sew the zip on, but when I sew the zip on, I want to sew it onto the seam allowance only. So I'm going to lift this and I'm going to put the rest of the fabric behind. So now it's just on the seam allowance. And I'm going to pin it, keeping the zip right in the middle of that seam. So it must be equal on both sides, and we're going to put a few pins in. Keeping everything nicely on the edge. And now the tricky part of the zip is your puller, which is this guy here. So I'm going to open him a little bit. And now I'm going to go to the machine and I'm going to sew with my zip foot, and I'm going to sew until that point, stop with my needle down, lift my foot up, so unzip the zip, put the foot back down and carry on stitching. But I'll show you that all now on the sewing machine. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to put the zip foot onto your machine. Firstly, you need to take the other foot off. There's a little button at the back that you just press and it comes off quite easily. So now we're going to take this foot, and this foot can be attached on this side or on that side, and I've chosen to put it on this side because I'm going to be sewing next to my zip on that side. So I'm going to put it underneath, and I need two hands for this. So this hand's going to hold it, and my other hand is going to put the pressure foot down until it clicks. So it needs to click on like that, and then it is in position. Okay, so to sew on my zip, I need a zip foot. So some machines are different, but this is kind of what a standard zip foot looks like. So I'm going to put the zip foot onto my machine. I'm going to press, there's a little button at the back here, press that, and that releases this one. So I'm taking the normal foot off, and you'll see that the zip foot can be attached to the machine on either this side or that side, and I'm going to put it onto this side because when I sew, I want to sew close to my zip. So you need to use two hands to this. You hold the foot with one hand and then you use your other hand to pressure it down. Okay, now I will take my cushion cover and I'll place it here, and it's more or less on the 1 centimeter seam allowance or on the edge of your foot. So that's going to be your guide. So you're going to put the machine needle down, take your pin out, and we are going to sew. Okay, I'm going to take this pin out. I'm sewing without my foot because I have a little person under the table. Okay, so when I get here, which is close to the puller, I'm stopping with my needle down, and I'm going to lift the foot up and unzip the zip so that the puller is out the way, and then I can put my foot back down and I can carry on sewing. Just take my pin out, and I'm going to sew all the way to the very, very end. Okay, so I've sewed the zip onto this side, and now I need to sew the zip onto the other side. of the material. But I'm going to struggle because now that this is sewn here, I can't undo my puller because I have nothing to work with. So I need to go and unpick some of my big stitches. So I'm going to unpick just let's say 4 of the big stitches so that I can now get, if I open this up here, I can now get the puller out. So it's just enough to get the puller out of the little hole there, just so that I can move him up and down so that when I'm sewing, he won't be in my way. So I'm going to go and now start sewing from here, so I can put a pin in there. Okay, so I'm going to sew from there down to there. I'm going to stop and then I'm going to go with my hand on the inside and pull the puller back up and then carry on sewing all the way down. Okay, so I've put it into my fabric and I'm going to do my back stitch, take my pin out, and then I'm going to sew till I'm close to the puller but not too close. Okay, so now I'm going to lift my foot up. I'm going to take this hand, I need to go in between the 2 layers to find the puller, and then I'm going to close the puller. Sometimes it's a little bit difficult, you need to twist it a little bit out the way. Okay, and then I'm going to put my foot back down and carry on sewing. Okay, so I've sewn the zip onto both of my seams. You can see there I went a little bit skew, but I'm not too worried about that at the moment because the stitching that you did here is really just to hold the zip into place. The important thing, what you're going to see from the outside, is a top stitch. So we're going to do a top stitch all the way around. You must be very careful because you have a piece of metal at the end of your zip. So the end of the zip is a piece of metal, so you must not hit that. So I like to just put a pin over there to make sure that I don't hit that. And then I have a guide on my machine, which I'm going to use to top stitch all the way around. But if you don't have a guide, you're more than welcome to just take your ruler and make a 5mm. So from where your seam is, just 5 mils out to the side. Don't make it too big and also not too small. So 5 mils is fine, so 1/2 centimeter. And you can go ahead and draw that line. So match those marks up and actually draw that blue line if you want all the way around so that you have a guide to sew on. Remember to go around your metal at the bottom, and now I will show you how I like to sew it. Okay, so now I'm ready to do my top stitching. I like to start with the top stitching over here. So I'm going to start on this side. Just make sure that if your zip is open that you're not going to hit your metal. So I'm going to open the zip a little bit and put it in, feeling that I'm not going to hit my metal, and I'm going to put my needle down, and I'm actually going to do a little bit of a back stitch here, just a few stitches, so just a few stitches forward and a few stitches backwards, and then I'm going to stop over there and I'm going to turn, and what I'm actually using as a guide is the edge of the foot here. So that edge of that foot is going to run next to the center of my seam. So I'm going to keep the puller open for a little bit and just sew a little bit closer to the puller so you can see the edge of the foot is right there on the edge of that seam. I'm going to go a little bit closer, and then I'm going to stop, lift my foot up again and just pull the puller out the way, otherwise he's going to make me go all skew. And put the foot back down and slowly and gently just carry on sewing, keeping that as my guide. If I see that my fabric is starting to pucker a little bit like that, I'm just going to lift my foot up and move the excess fabric out the way. So I can keep doing that if that happens. Okay, so now I can see that I'm coming towards my metal over there. I'm just going to move the pin so it's on the other side. Make sure that this fabric's not going to make a funny pleat, and I'm going to go past that because I don't want to hit the metal, and turn so I can take this pin out of the way now. I can feel there's my metal, so I'm not going to hit him. And then just very carefully sew, so try not to sew too many here, and then I'm going to just check if I'm in the right place, and I am. So there my guide again is, so that both sides will be the same. That's my guide. So again, I'm just going to lift to move this fabric out the way. I went a little bit skew there. Okay, so go as close to him as I can, then I'm going to stop and move him out the way again because I don't want him to be in my way. And I just want to join my two lines, so I'm going to stop in line with that one. And do my back stitch. Okay, so there you have a top stitch. It looks a bit skew on here, but there's my top stitch. I did go a little bit skew there. And now I will unpick the center line here. So these big stitches I'm going to unpick, and then you'll be able to open and close your zip.